So yeah, coming back to this thing, please remember the Negev desert, it comes in southern part of Israel. You have Sinai Peninsula, it comes in Egypt. Gulf of Aqaba, it comes at the tip of Israel. And you have here, you can see this region, you have between Syria and, not in Syria exactly, it is in part of Israel. It is called as the Sea of Galilee. Okay, so these are the important points you have to remember here. And now the recent onslaught, what is happening, that Israeli forces have entered. Here you can remember, Rafah will be able to remember, Khan Yunis, this is one more place which comes in Gaza only. And this is where you have the Gaza city. And this part you have this border, it opens into which country? Egypt. Okay. So these are the important points you have to remember. But as part of your IR, please remember Abraham Accord. And similarly, you can see there is something called as I2U2. That is separate. That is India, Israel, USA, and UAE. Okay. It is also famously called as the West Asian Quad. Okay. Quad is different. Quad force is different. And Oslo Accords. They can ask Oslo Accords was signed between which two sides? Oslo Accords again between Israel and Palestine. It was again who brokered it? It was brokered by the Americans in that regard. Now, if you see within this West Asia, there are multiple groups which are operating. They are called as the axis of resistance. Okay. So in World War, what you had axis of evil in that regard. Here it is called as axis of resistance. So who comes under this axis of resistance? You have Hezbollah who are operating in Lebanon in that regard. Then you have Houthis who are operating in Yemen. And you have the Islamic resistance who are operating in Iraq. So there are multiple groups there along Islamic resistance. Then you have the Syrian government in that regard, which is led by Bashar al-Assad. So you can say all four of them are supported by whom? Iran. Okay. They work in consonance with Iran. So you can say these are the Iranian allies within the region, and they are termed as what? Axis of resistance. So Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthis in Yemen, Islamic resistance of Iraq, and Bashar al-Assad government of Syria. So you can say Syria shares border with Iraq. Syria does not share border with Iran, because you have to, Iran has been in use, you have to know which are the bordering countries of Iran. That will take up next in that regard. But these are few things you have to remember. And you can say Kuwait, it comes here. And with India, you can say we recently signed an agreement with respect to the Chabahar Port. So if you look at the Chabahar Port, it comes in Gulf of Oman. Please remember, Bandar Abbas is north of Chabahar. This is one more port, Bandar Abbas. South of Bandar Abbas is Chabahar. And Chabahar is connected to which port here in India? Kandla. From Kandla, Gujarat, it is connected. And here you can say you have Zahedin and Zaranj region. It comes where? Along the Iran and Afghan border. And once you enter Afghanistan through here, we have constructed a roadway. What is the name of the roadway? Zaranj Delaram Highway, which is an Indian constructed roadway in that regard. So this is India's access towards Afghanistan. Why we are not able to access Afghanistan? Because of Pakistan's resistance. Though we share a border with Afghanistan, that is the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Currently it is not under India's control. So that is why Chabahar becomes very important from a strategic point of view. And please remember, Bandar Abbas is also one more port which is located in Iran. So you can say here this port where it is located, Sistan and Balochistan province. Okay. When you say Balochistan, Balochistan is not just the province in Pakistan. There is one more province in Iran also called as Balochistan. So recently, if you take the surgical strikes which Iran did on Pakistan in that regard, and even Pakistan struck back, this was in this region, Sistan and Balochistan. And you can say in this thing Chabahar, there are two ports in that regard. In that Shahid Behesti, this port has been where Indian government has been able to sign the agreement, because Chabahar is consists of two ports. In that Shahid Behesti, this port has been handed over to India as part of the contract what we have signed. So this you need to remember in that regard with the Chabahar port. And now taking Iran in that regard, you can say here this is what you have, Strait of Hormuz. So it is connecting what? It is connecting the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea in that regard. And here you can which two countries. So that's why here tip what you see, this is not actually UAE. UAE will end here. The tip region what you can see, that is belongs to Oman. It is under control of Oman. So it separates Oman and Iran, and it is this Strait of Hormuz is almost 33 kilometers wide. Okay. And that is why you can say that is a very important strategic place. So if Iran wants to create any kind of trouble within the region, they will do military exercise here or block the ongoing ship. And you can say Houthi rebels have been attacking any ships which are carrying goods to Israel, etc. So with Iran you have Zagros mountains. They might ask it comes in which country? It comes in Iran. Zagros, Zagros. And similarly you have Mount Elbrus. It comes where? Russia. Okay, please remember Zagros mountain range comes where? Iran. You have Mount Elbrus that comes in Russia. Now there is a moving on from Iran. If you go above, we have this what you can say Eurasia in that regard. So if you take Eurasia, there is this region called as Caucasus. Okay, so they might ask where does it come? So please remember it is a transcontinental region between Black Sea and Caspian Sea. So you can see this is where is Black Sea, this is where is Caspian Sea. So this region comes where? Between Caspian Sea and Black Sea. And which are the countries which come under this? You can keep the short form of RAG. You have Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan and Georgia. So they might ask which countries come in the region of, I don't know how to spell, Caucasus. It is in what? Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan and Georgia. And please remember which part it comes? Eurasia. Okay, they might ask, this comes in South America, this comes in Africa, this comes in North America. It comes where? It comes in Eurasia in that regard. Okay. So Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan and Georgia. Short form you can keep as RAG, and it separates what? Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Now since we are discussing about Eurasia, you have Nagorno-Karabakh. So this is a dispute between which two countries? So you can see this is where this region is located. So it's a dispute between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's a dispute between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And you can say Azerbaijan is also called as the land of fire. Okay. So you have this called as Yanor Dag. Yanordag. What is the significance of this? This place called as Yanor Dag. It comes in what is that? Azerbaijan. So here you can say there is a place where continuously it is in fire from many years because of the flow of the gas. Okay. So that place is called, that is why it is called as a land of fire, because continuously the fire has been not extinguished from many years in this region. Why? Because underneath there is a gas present there, and that is what is leading to the continuous blowing of fire. You would have seen in Discovery Channel many times that it is also called as a place of hell in that regard. So that is called as Yanor Dag in that regard. It comes in Azerbaijan. So this is a dispute between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And please remember, this is where is Armenia and this is where is Azerbaijan. And they can also ask this something called as Lachin corridor in that regard. And actually the Russians have intervened here to bring peace between them, and this Lachin corridor is policed by the Russian peacekeeper, so trying to sort out the issue between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Lachin corridor. Now moving forward, you have India, Middle East, East European Economic Corridor. So this comprises of what? This comprises of railway, shipping, high speed data cable as well as energy pipelines. And you can say this can be also seen as an attempt by the G7 along with India to counter China's Belt Road Initiative project. So the important places what you need to remember here is that one is the Mumbai port in that regard. Then you have Jebel Ali, which is in UAE. Riyadh you will be able to remember, it comes in Saudi Arabia. You have Al Guwaifat, it comes in again UAE. Then you have Al Haditha, which comes in Saudi. This is important because Prime Minister Modi had visited and sealed a deal with India that is called as the Piraeus port, which is there in Greece in that regard. And Haifa, please remember, it is a port in Israel. Okay, so many ports are in news, so they might ask match the following with respect to ports: Haifa, Piraeus, or they can also ask Chabahar, Bandar Abbas. These are the important ports you have to remember. In which country do they come? So this is what the India Middle East European Economic Corridor. And you can see the participating countries are Saudi, European Union, India, UAE, France, Germany, Italy, USA, and you have Israel. You have many countries again now joining the camp. So there they won't ask which countries are joining because it's a more flexible group. But please remember the places which are there. Now you take Levant. Okay, this has been already asked in the exam. So if you see in, I think 2022 prelims paper, they had asked the question, the term Levant, often heard in news recently, corresponds to which of the following regions? So they have a region along the eastern Mediterranean shores, region along the North Africa stretching from Egypt to Morocco, region along Persian Gulf and Horn of Africa, the entire coastal area of Mediterranean Sea. So obviously you can see, you could have guessed that entire coast of Mediterranean will be a very extreme word to go with. And if you see Levant comes where? It comes in which part? It comes in the eastern part of the Mediterranean shores. So which countries are included here? Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria. So Israel and Palestine is same. And you have Cyprus. Cyprus is this island. This region is called as Levant. So as I told you, in exam they have not asked name the countries which come. They usually ask which region or which part. So you can say the answer will be what? Region along the eastern Mediterranean shore. It is called as Levant. Now the other important thing is the Russian Ukraine what you can say dispute that has been going on. So when you took Russia and Ukraine dispute, so let us look at the important place in Ukraine which are in news. So you have Kyiv, which is the capital of Ukraine. There is one more region where the fighting has happened. Lviv, Odessa is a port. It's an important port. Then one more important port city is Mariupol, and you have Donetsk and Luhansk in that regard, where recently you can say the Russian-backed separatists have declared them as independents and declared them as new countries. That was what Donetsk Republic and Luhansk Republic in that regard. Kherson, it comes in southern part of the Ukraine. They might ask Kherson or these places where it is in use. And you have Crimea, which was part of Ukraine but has been annexed by Russia in that regard. And you can see in Crimea you have Sevastopol, which is one more important port. And why Russia annexed Crimea? Because for Russia the entry into Black Sea is very important, and for them Crimea is very, very strategically important. And in Crimea, what population was there? 80% of them were Russian origin in their regard. That is why they were able to do a referendum and they told now it is part of Russia. So these are the important places you have to remember. And similarly, last year I think they already asked the question which of the countries border Ukraine. Okay. So if you see Belarus, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Moldova, Russia. So more importantly, Latvia, Lithuania, Germany, Czech Republic, and more importantly, Ukraine is not part of NATO. Recently, two new countries joined NATO, that is Finland and Sweden. Okay, that again you studied part of IR. Okay, so if you take when was NATO formed, 1949 in that regard. What are the conditions to become part of NATO? There are certain conditions. One, you have to be a liberal democratic country. Second one, your government should have, the military should be under the civilian control. Third, you have to have an open market economy. Fourth, you have to have what you can say, human rights track record should be good. Fifth one, you should be able to contribute to NATO's funding. And again, when you remember NATO, please remember Article 5. What does Article 5? It promotes the idea of collective security. If any one NATO country is attacked, the other countries will come to their aid in that regard. So with the recent Russian aggression on Ukraine, you can say Finland and Sweden, which was there, means it is not available in the next map, we'll see. So these two countries joined because they fear that Russia might have their aggression, that because it is very close to Russia. So these are the places that are in news with respect to what? Ukraine in that regard. don't remember all the places, roughly remember the important ones. So you can match the following pretty easily. So if you take the Russia, now they asked last time Ukraine bordering countries. Now they might ask which are the land Russia shares land border with, and you can say Russia is a very big country. So let's go wise. Here if you see this side, you have Poland, Lithuania, Norway, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, and you have Belarus. Please remember, Sweden does not share border with Russia, because you will be tempted to go for Sweden because Sweden joined NATO. Okay, it's not necessary that every country that shares with border with Russia will be a member of NATO, because you can say Ukraine, Belarus, which are there, they are all sharing border with Russia, but they are not part of NATO. Okay, so remember, Poland, Lithuania, Norway, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, and Belarus. Here you can say Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Georgia, Azerbaijan. These are the countries where you can say on the western part of Russia what they are sharing border. So Ukraine, Georgia, Azerbaijan, then you have Kazakhstan, then you have which other country? China, Mongolia, and North Korea. Japan does not have land boundary with Russia, but however there is a dispute between Japan and Russia over an island that is called as Kuril Island. It comes in East China Sea. Okay, that will cover when we do South China, East China. But remember, there is a dispute between Japan and Russia with respect to a island called as Kuril Island. It is in East China Sea. But these are the countries which shares border with Russia. So last year they asked about Ukraine. This time they might ask about Russia, which are the bordering countries. Might ask. It's not that 100% they will ask. So I have told you don't expect that question will come from this. It is might ask. And you have this region called as Kaliningrad Oblast. They might ask who controls this region. It is under control of Russia. So if you see, when I say the Lithuania and Poland, they share border with Russia, you see here they actually don't share border, but how they share border? Because this Kaliningrad which is there, it's an exclave of Russia in that regard, and that comes between Lithuania and Poland. Okay, so please remember, Kaliningrad Oblast is an exclave of Russia that lies between Lithuania and Poland in that regard, and it's an Russian exclave. That is how these two countries share border with Russia. Now you have the Baltic Sea in that regard. So they might ask which countries touch the Baltic Sea or the bordering countries of Baltic Sea. So one you have, we can go anti-clockwise direction. You have Finland, you have Sweden, you have Denmark, you have Germany, you have Poland, you have Russia, you have Lithuania, you have Latvia, you have Estonia. Again I said you cannot remember all these names in that regard. The better way to remember which do not touch these countries. So you have Norway and Sweden, Germany do not, Norway and Sweden, Norway and Sweden, no. Sorry, Sweden touches Baltic Sea now. So it is only Norway which does not touch the Baltic Sea. So in the options if they give Norway, so you have Sweden, you have Finland, you have Denmark, you have Germany, Poland, Russia, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. These are the countries which touch the Baltic Sea. Okay, so there is no Norway. Okay, only Norway. It's not Sweden, only no Norway. And you can say also Belarus also does not touch. Then you have Aral Sea in that regard. So this is easy to remember. This question has been already asked also. Aral Sea has been shrinking in that regard because of man-made activities. Here you can see it comes between what? Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. So Aral Sea, KAU, you can remember. Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. And you have these two rivers, Sirdarya and Amudarya. Both of them are the rivers which actually fill in the Aral Sea. Where does Aral Sea come? It comes in the Central Asia part. Yeah. Now since Finland and Sweden have joined NATO in that regard, so there might be also a question called as what is Lapland? Okay, which region is called as Lapland? So please remember this region in Arctic circle which is there, that we call as Lapland. So which countries come there? Norway, Sweden, Finland and part of Russia, that is called as Lapland. Norway, Sweden, Finland and part of Russia, that is called as Lapland. So this is a cultural region, means largely a group of people are spread over in this region. They are called as the Sami people, S-A-M-I. Okay, they are spread over Lapland. They have their own custom, their own tradition, their own language. That we call as Lapland. Then you have here Gulf of Bothnia in that regard. Please remember it comes between Sweden and Finland. Gulf of Bothnia between Sweden and Finland. And you have Gulf of Finland which comes between what? Finland in the north, then you have Russia and Estonia in the south. So these are the two important things you have to remember. The Gulf of Bothnia and Gulf of Finland. Gulf of Bothnia between Sweden and Finland, and Gulf of Finland is between Finland, Estonia and Russia. And please remember it comes near this what is that? Gulf of Finland. Okay, it opens up to Baltic Sea. Then you have Sea of Azov in that regard. So again, where does Sea of Azov come? It comes between Ukraine and Russia. And please remember here this port city called as Mariupol in that regard, that touches the Sea of Azov. And between Ukraine and Russia, you have this thing called as what? Strait of Kerch, K-E-R-C-H. So Black Sea. Please remember the Strait of Kerch. It connects what? Sea of Azov with Black Sea in that regard. So it's a shallow water body between Ukraine and Russia. So remember Sea of Azov, Strait of Kerch. So Aral Sea comes where? Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Sea of Azov comes between what? Ukraine and Russia. So again, match the following, they can ask which of the following. And yeah, now briefly, because I added this later, you have a highland called as Cape Verde. So it is also called as what you can say Cabo Verde. So why this has been in use is that it is the third African country to be declared as malaria free. Okay, the first two African countries to be declared malaria free is Mauritius and Algeria. So Cape Verde became the third African country to be declared malaria free. And please remember, India is not yet malaria free. We have kept a target of 2030 to become malaria free. Other things you read in science and tech, etc. means malaria is caused by what? What is the medium through which it's caused? Which mosquito is involved in the spread of malaria? These kind of things. But here, please remember why this was in use, because it became the third African country to be declared as malaria free. And you have Strait of Gibraltar. It is between Morocco and Spain. And as you say, it links which one? It links Mediterranean Sea with Atlantic Sea. And it also divides Europe and Africa. So if you see, this question was asked in prelims. This is a very old question that asked in 2010. Okay, since now malaria is in use because this country became the third country, etc. So there was widespread resistance of malaria parasite to drugs like chloroquine has prompted attempts to develop malarial vaccine to combat malaria. Why it is so difficult? Why it is very difficult to develop an effective vaccine against malaria? So the answer for this question was B. Man does not develop immunity to malaria during natural infection. That was one of the answers. So question can be asked multiple ways. In one more year, they can ask about chloroquine drug is with respect to which what you can say disease, etc. like malaria. So that is why solving previous year question paper will give you a lot of information of other things also. But now they can ask which was the African country which was recently declared to be malaria free. It is Verde. Or they might ask, is the first African country? No, it is the third African country. Or they might ask a statement saying that the world is completely malaria free. Obviously, no, India is only not malaria free. Obviously, the world cannot be malaria. Then this was the place where you can say recently Iran and what you can say this Iran and Pakistan strike also happened. At the same time, you can say Iran also struck this place in Syria called as Idlib, IDLIB. They might ask, Idlib comes in Syria. Why they struck that place was that this was a base for the Mossad. Mossad is the Israeli intelligence agency. They were operating from Syria in that regard. That is why they struck this place called as Idlib. That comes very close to Damascus in that regard. And similarly, you can say with respect to Pakistan in that regard, the Iranians, they also conducted airstrikes there, wherein Baloch province. So why they struck airstrike? Because this group is there, Jaishish al-Adal. It's a group which is what they're asking for making Balochistan an independent state. So this group operates in Iran, and they attacked police station in Iran, killing policemen. As a retaliation, what they did, because this group has bases in Balochistan, Iran did surgical strikes in that regard, and that is why it was in news. Okay. So if you look here, the land border of Iran, they have border with which countries? So one, you can say they have border with Iraq, they have border with Turkmenistan, they have border with Afghanistan, they have border with Pakistan, then they have border with Armenia, Azerbaijan, and they also have border with Turkey. Okay, so these are the land border countries of Iran. If you see here, you have Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan. But please remember here, this Syria, Israel or Jordan, they do not have border with Iran. Israel, Syria or Jordan, they don't have border with Iran. It is Iraq, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, then you have Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, land border. They have maritime border with these Gulf countries in that regard, land border. These are the countries which have land border with Iran. Okay. So because Iran has been also in news for various reasons. Now, the North Sea route which is there, that is the other important thing. So North Sea route is now newly mooted. So one statement they can give is that North Sea route is it is open throughout the year. Currently it is not open throughout the year, it is only 3 months or 4 months in a year. And you can say they might ask the following names are associated with what? Sabeta, Dixon, Dundika, Tixi, Pevek. These are all ports which comes on the North Sea route in that regard. These are very important ports which come as part of North Sea route. So North Sea route is going to be a game changer. Why? It is going to reduce the distance that is required, and it also reduces the dependence on Suez Canal. So currently the passage is only feasible 3 months in a year. Okay. Now from where to where the North Sea extends? It extends from the Bering Sea till Bering Strait. But please remember, Bering Sea is not part of the North Sea route. It starts from the ending of Bering Sea up to the Bering Strait. So if you see, this is only what to call as Bering Strait. So Bering Strait is the strait that connects this Chukchi Sea to Bering Sea. It is also connecting Arctic Ocean with what? Which other ocean? Here you have Pacific Ocean, Arctic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. And you have what you can say, Diomede Highlands, Diomed, and here you have St. Lawrence Highlands. Okay. So they exactly come near the Bering Strait, and these highlands have been divided between USA and Russia. St. Lawrence Highlands belongs to America. The Diomede Highlands, they belong to Russia in that regard. And this is also where your international timeline also passes through. Please remember, Bering Strait, it is connecting Arctic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. This sea, Chukchi Sea and Bering Sea. This island, Diomede Highlands and St. Lawrence Island. So that is what you have to remember with respect to Bering Strait. Now if you take the, the North Sea route which is there, which is operating, Murmansk, this is one port which is very important, because recently you can see India is also using this particular port, all the way up to Pevek. This is where the North Sea route extends. So here we have certain important ports of Russia. In one of the CDS exam, what they have done, they have given the port name and they have told this port is connected to which waters. So here if you see Murmansk, it is in Barents Sea, it opens to Barents Sea. You have Rostov, which connects to Black Sea. You can see this is in the western part of Russia. And you have Vladivostok in that regard. There is one more important port that comes to Sea of Japan. And you have St. Petersburg in that regard, that it opens to Baltic Sea. So this is one of the questions they have asked in CDS exam or CRPF exam. They have given which of the following are correctly matched. So please remember Murmansk, Barents Sea. You have St. Petersburg, Baltic Sea. You have Rostov, Black Sea. And you have Vladivostok, that is the Sea of Japan. So these are all the important ports in Russia that you have to remember. Then you have the North-South Transport Corridor. And you can see who are the founding members of the International North-South Transport Corridor. You have Iran, Russia and India. And you can say this is the route what we are speaking, the red line, what you can say. So obviously it will reduce India's dependence on Suez Canal. And one more point you have to remember here is that Rast Astara Railways, it's a new railways that is being constructed between which two countries? Russia and Iran. Please remember Rast Astara Railways, it is between Russia and Iran. And you can say this is connecting what? This is connecting Indian Ocean with the Caspian Sea. This is international North-South Transport Corridor. Then we have Kaladan multimodal project in that regard. So as you can say, Kaladan multimodal project is between which two countries? India and Myanmar. So if you see, the project will start from Kolkata, through Kolkata, 539 kilometers through sea route, it is connected to Sitwe port. From Sitwe port, here you can say there is a river which is flowing. Which river? Kaladan. So through this river, then you will reach Paletwa. Paletwa comes in this Chin part of Myanmar. From Paletwa, it enters to what? Mizoram. So it is connecting Kolkata or West Bengal to Mizoram. So it includes a sea route and inland waterways as well as a roadways. So Kaladan, that is why it is called as multimodal project. So last year's paper, if you see, they have asked some specific connectivity projects which India is involved in. Then you have India, Myanmar, Thailand Trilateral Highway, which was already asked last year in that regard. So you can say this route starts from More in India and it goes. So last time they have changed the name of Mysore, they have given something else in that regard. That is why that statement is wrong. So you can say where More, Mandalay in Myanmar, Yangon in Myanmar, then it connects Mesot in Thailand in that regard. So this is called as India, Myanmar, Thailand Trilateral Highway. This is also giving boost to India's Look East, Act East policy. Now, if we take Afghanistan, because Afghanistan has been known, so you can see recently Pakistan did airstrikes against Afghanistan, especially with Taliban there. Paktika, coast, these are all the border regions which comes between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And as you know, the line which separates Afghanistan and Pakistan is the Durand line. And if you, these are the important places in Afghanistan, what you have to know. Kabul, as you know, it's the capital. Then you have Mazar-e-Sharif in that regard, northern part of Afghanistan, where Indian consulate, was attacked by terror groups in the past, I'm telling. And you have Herat, which is there, which comes on the what you can say western part of Afghanistan. Then you have Kandahar in that regard. Quetta comes where? Quetta comes in Pakistan. So these are the important places that you need to remember. And see, they can ask also Pashtun region comes where? Pashtun region comes between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Okay, it lies on both sides of the border, Afghanistan. So this line, what you can say, this we call as the Pashtun region in that regard. So take Afghanistan, they might ask which of the following countries are bordering Afghanistan. You have Iran, you have Turkmenistan, you have Uzbekistan, you have Tajikistan, you have what is that, China, and you have Pakistan, and you also have India. India also shares. We share what? Is Pakistan occupied Kashmir? Because we are, this is our territory, but then if we come into South China Sea in that regard, so you have lot of disputes in South China Sea over highlands. So one of the major reasons were Paracel, Scarborough Shoal, Spratly Highlands, all of them come where? South China Sea. And they can also ask one more thing called as cabbage strategy. What do you mean by cabbage strategy? It is China's strategy where they surround an uninhabited island to claim over it. Similarly, salami slicing, that is their land border strategy. That how they take away small pieces of land through smaller incursions. This is what I told, Kuril Island dispute. So these are the Kuril Island. So this is a disputed territory between what? Japan and Russia in that regard. So here you can see other things also. These are the Japanese island. So here you have the Korean Strait. Okay, Korean Strait, which is connecting Sea of Japan with East China Sea. Korean Strait, it is connecting what? Sea of Japan with East China Sea. And the Korean Strait also separates what? South Korea and Japan. And you can say this is North Korea. And Pyongyang is the capital of North Korea. Seoul is the capital of South Korea. And you have North Korea shares border with China in that regard. And here you have Yellow Sea in that regard. Yellow Sea comes close near, somewhere near Korea and China in that regard. And then you have here Tatar Strait in that regard. So this highland is there, na, Sakhalin Highland. This is a separate highland. How we have Andaman Nicobar Island, like that is how Russia controls this island. This Tatar Strait, it separates Sakhalin Highlands from the mainland Russia. So remember, Sakhalin Highlands, it's an important oil resource region. It is controlled by Russia. And you have Sea of Okhotsk. It comes very close to the Kuril Islands, which is a disputed region between Japan and Russia. So you have to remember Yellow Sea, Korean Strait, Sea of Japan, East China Sea. Then you have the Tatar Strait and the Sea of Okhotsk or something, and Kuril Islands. Kachativu, this has been in news because of the elections in that regard. And you can say Kachativu was, India gave up the claims and handed over it to Sri Lanka. So here you can say Rameshwaram, Dhanushkodi and Kachativu. Among the three, which comes to the north in that regard, you have Kachativu. Here you have Jaffna. Jaffna comes in Sri Lanka. And this is Rameshwaram. You have the Indira Point. And you have the Duncan Pass. Okay, this separates what? South Andaman and Little Andaman. Okay, these are things you have to remember. Duncan Pass, South Andaman and Little Andaman. 10-degree channel, Little Andaman and Nicobar. You have 9-degree channel, Lakshadweep and Minicoy. And 8-degree channel, Minicoy and Maldives. And you have the Great Andaman. Great Andaman comprises of North Andaman, Middle Andaman, South Andaman. And you have in this Middle and North Andaman, you have two islands. One you have Narcondam Island, which is an extinct volcano, and you have Barren Islands, which is an dormant volcano. Okay, so these are the important points you have to know, because since Lakshadweep was in use. So these are the important what you can say naval bases, the Chinese movement of ships within the region. And this you already know, Chabahar, which India has acquired in Iran, and you have Duqm Port, which is in Oman. Duqm Port, which is in Oman in that regard. And you have Assumption Highlands in Seychelles, which are looking to acquire. Still the deal is not placed in negotiation stage. And Mathala is an airport which India controls in Sri Lanka. Hambantota is with China. That is a port. Airport is Mathala, which India controls, which is 20 kilometers away from Hambantota. And Fakor Air Base is the India's only external air base, which it is in Tajikistan. in that regard. So these are the important points you need to remember. So remember, Duqm Oman, Chabahar Iran, Assumption Island, Seychelles, then you have Sabang Indonesia, and you have Changi which is in Singapore, and in Vietnam also recently we have agreed upon to utilize a port. In Japan also we are in negotiation, and in Mongolia also we are trying to look at. So this is some called as India's diamond necklace as a strategy to China's string of pearls. And recently India also signed a what you can say, a free trade agreement with what this European Free Trade Association. So they might ask who are the members of European Free Trade Association: Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein and Switzerland. So I can keep it something as LINS or NILS, anything like that. Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein and Switzerland. And here you can see there was a since Taiwan issue is in news, Taiwan and China is threatening to what take over Taiwan, because China as part of its one China policy claims Taiwan to be part of China. So in China you have the People's Republic of China, here you have Republic of China. Taiwan, only 14 countries in the world have given recognition, including India has not recognized Taiwan officially. So recently you can say China Sea with South China Sea. Okay, it connects Philippine Sea with South China Sea. So these are the important places that you will have to know. So this is the map through which only we are covered what important places in use for last 1 year. So we will be sharing this document also on our Insights, what you can say, Telegram channel. So you can directly download that. But these are some of the important places which are in use. 1 or 2 might be missing, that you add it up with any other document what you have written. Okay, but again you have to do repeated revision of all these topics. So largely that is what we have covered. We have covered Latin America, we have covered Eurasia, we have covered a bit of Europe in that regard, Africa and Asia. And in Asia largely what has been in news in that regard. But we have not covered Indian map work and all, that you will have to do a part of your geography. This is only the places which are in use. Got it? So any other doubt? Okay. So as part of prelims, that is again in the last moment of prelims, don't try to read anything new, just try to revise what you have read all these days. And second one, I think already many faculties also handled session like Shashank sir and others also, where they've given inputs that how you can approach the questions. So for example, like use a lot of common sense in the examination. Always don't try to go for something for memory based. Okay, for example, let us think they ask a question. Okay, India purchases Chinook helicopter from which country? Okay, let us think you have not read current affairs, but try to remember your geography knowledge. Chinook is a wind which blows in North America. So given on the options, if they've given Russia, US, Israel, France, try to logically think, okay, Americans might have named their helicopter Chinook, or that Levant question what you saw. So try to see for extreme statement. They told entire coast of Mediterranean is Levant. Usually extreme statements will be wrong in that regard. So last year also they had asked which of the following animal uses its hand to use stick and take insects. Again use common sense in the regard. Given options, the only one animal where you can say it can use its arm is the orangutan in that regard. Or what is that dance, waggle dance. So again waggle dance, see you can say sir I don't know what thing, but read the statement carefully. This insect does waggle dance to indicate other animals where they put it. So basically it should be some insect which is community living. Get in mind, if you say dragonfly, what other options they are given, they usually do not have community. You have not seen dragonfly going through communities. It is bees who always move through community. So use some kind of common sense there. Okay, fine, I'll go for bees. Yeah, logic will not be always correct. It's not that 10 questions you have used logic, all 10 questions will be correct. No, but if you are using logic, means and correct logic, out of 10 if you get 7 also correct, basically you are at surplus. You are getting a point. Even if you make 7 mistakes, if you get 3 correct, you are at net 0 loss. So many times you cannot solve prelims question only with too much of knowledge what you have. You also have to use your common sense. Read these statements carefully. Don't rush into reading the statement. Like last year also I think they have given one question, small farmers, big land, what is the concept? try to use keywords. One keyword they given market, one keyword they given corporate company, etc. So the whole idea is cooperative farming. So look for a statement where there is cooperative farming, the farmers are pooling their land and sharing that thing. So many times in the question only they would have given you the hint, but you need to be very calm to understand what is the question that has been asked and how you are going to approach it. Again, in map based question, it's not that read all the map question and fill in your head with too many places. You filter it out more. Okay, more importantly, what can come in the exam. And again, I told you, many times try to be logically think, but there will be some questions where logic won't work. You will need information in that regard. Those kind of questions, if you are not sure, let it go. And given the last year's cutoff in that regard, it has been 75 because the paper was also on the difficult side. So it's not that you always have to attend 100 questions, 90 questions. So when you solve your first round in that regard, first round, let's take in 45 minutes, 1 hour, read all the 100 questions. Keep a time like 45 minutes, all the 100 questions. Means what? You have to only mark those answers which you are sure for. If there is some question you are not sure, move on to the next question. Come back in the second round. So in first round, you have to only mark for those questions which you know straightforward, which you know dead correct. Like last year paper if you take, there are around 25 to 27 questions which are straightforward. Means any basic fellow has run basic thing, he'll get it correct. Like what is that? Charters Act, some question they've given, in which act the Governor General of India. These kind of basic questions are there. But they are spread throughout the paper. They are not located in one place. So what will happen when you are solving? You might have 4 difficult questions. 5th question might be easy. But if you break your head over those 4 difficult questions in that regard, you might make a mistake in the 5th question. So first round, go for those statements which are more comfortable. Read the question. Okay, you felt this requires more reading. Move on to the next one. So in first round, if you get those 25 to 27 questions correct, how much marks you already got? 54. I'm telling from last year's perspective. After all, now you need how many more marks to pass? 23 or 24 marks, in that regard. Out of how many questions? Let us say you have marked 25 questions. Out of 75 questions or 73 questions, you have to get just 23 marks. That is easily gettable. But if you don't make any kind of mistakes in that regard. So many times what will happen, where students will go wrong is that they will go wrong because first 10 questions what they see, none of the question will be what they have read. They get tensed. Okay, the moment they get destined, they'll start panicking in that regard. That's why I told don't panic so much. Read the question, find 10 questions also, you do not move on to the 11th question. So first try to solve those questions which are straightforward. Okay, then you will become more calm. So when you are more calm, you will focus on the statements more clearly. Okay, so when you focus on the more statements clearly, your brain will start to work. Okay, this I can eliminate, this I can get it. So do it in 3 rounds. First round, 100% where you're sure. Second round, where 2-3 statements you have doubt. Third round, go for those kind of extreme questions where you have some idea or you are ready to take that risk. Okay, based on that you judge how much attempt. So there are people who have given 90 attempts also passed. There are people who have only given 70 attempts also passed. So that you have to work out in your test series or what tests you have solved. And in last week or so, don't try to solve any test series paper now. Just solve previous year UPSC questions. It will give you confidence also. Because test series, what will happen, statements will be too wide, too vast, it will dent your confidence. If you get 60, you will start doubting your abilities. So there is no hard and fast rule that one who gets 60 or 70 in test series will not clear, or one who is scoring 100 in test series will clear. Test series is only different, exams are only completely different. CSAT is something again. CSAT, develop your own strategy. First identify where you are strong, comprehension. Okay, first you are good in comprehension, first solve all the comprehension questions in that regard. Don't try to solve linearly. First identify which question you are going to solve. Then go for those areas we are not comfortable. So if you are solving comprehension, solve it in first 45 minutes. Give 5 minutes extra if you want, because you have to get these questions correct. Because anyway you are not, if you are not going to solve all 80 questions, you are attempting only 50 or 60. Basically 3 hours time what you are, 2 hours time what you are distributing, you need not need to distribute to all 80. You can distribute to 20 because 20 questions you are going to leave, which you are not going to attempt. Only if you have time, then you try to attend those 20 questions. End of the day, CSAT you need to just pass. So make sure you work on your strength areas, focus on strength areas. So identify those questions which are comfortable, solve them first according to the prelims preparation. Now you cannot prepare anything new. So now don't sit and read any new book and all. This and all is like a revision. It's not, if you have not read at all, now don't sit and read. If you have already read, use this as a revision in that regard. It will be helpful. Got the point? So we'll end the session here, and this thing, what is document, we'll be sharing it on the Insights channel. So you can directly download there. Any other doubt? Okay then, all the best.